I would like Kaylin to introduce you, please.
Attorney General Denise N. George, aka Denise George Counts, is a native Virgin Islander. Attorney General George served as an assistant attorney general and criminal trial attorney with the Virgin Islands Department of Justice for over 18 years. As a member of the Child Abuse Task Force, she co-authored the Virgin Islands' first criminal child abuse and neglect statute. Attorney General George also served as the director of the White Collar Crime and Public Corruption Division. During that time, she managed the division and successfully prosecuted complex white-collar crimes. In 2016, Attorney General George accepted a position as senior staff attorney at the Virgin Islands Port Authority, a position she held until her nomination as Attorney General. Thank you for joining us, Attorney General Denise N. George.
Well, thank you. And I have to say thank you first to Ms. Heiliger, Jacqueline Heiliger, and DVSAC, your whole team, for putting on this webinar. It is so important. Public awareness, and it is so important, and public participating in combating human trafficking is also very important. I say good morning to everyone as well. My colleague, administrators, Samuel Sanis, along with Gretchen Shepard, Attorney Gretchen Shepard, U.S. Attorney, Lieutenant Bridget Canal, who I've worked with for years, also TFO Stephanie Gabriel with HSI, and also all of the VIPD, everyone who's on this panel. And this is so great. This represents the kind of collaboration and cooperation that we need in getting together. I want to answer the senator first. I'll address her question first and say that we are definitely working on that as we speak. For the last couple months, we've been focusing on really getting into public awareness with respect to human trafficking in the Virgin Islands, public prevention and awareness, and the signage and everything at the various ports, the airports and the seaports, is something that we're working on. So, and we encourage further collaboration on that. So it's not only about human trafficking awareness month, but we're working on moving forward for it, so it can be a continuous effort in prevention and combating human trafficking. I'll say that when I first came on board as Attorney General, and it was my first encounter with human trafficking here in the Virgin Islands, actually was a situation involving Jeffrey Epstein, very notable case, a lot of notoriety there. I came on board April of 2019, and on my day one, I was getting all kinds of calls from the national, international, and local press regarding things that were said about what was going on in St. Thomas, Little St. James Island off of St. Thomas in the Virgin Islands, regarding human trafficking, sexual servitude, where young women and girls were trafficked and transported to the private island, secluded. Their credentials and or passports and other things were taken away and were held there, and out of coercion and exploitation, engaged in all sorts of sexual activity, commercial sexual activity, etc. It was astounding. But it kept coming. I felt we got to do something. There was definitely a misconception, I should say, throughout, also that I was hearing, where it was like the Virgin Islands was viewed like it's some kind of a haven for this kind of thing. So we couldn't sit. I know we couldn't sit. We couldn't just be complacent, but had to take action. In that domain, remember, I just started, but I'm looking into it. I said I can't do anything just based on rumor and innuendo. So we fortunately got a team together and was able to do some investigation and everything to verify that information before taking any kind of action that would have been available. Of course, these actions also had happened prior years, years before. So it was kind of a ticklish situation. Eventually, as is public record, is that we were able to file on behalf of the Virgin Islands an action, a civil action under the Criminally Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act. That is the CICO, the Racketeering Act. It is the Anti-Criminal Enterprise Act of the Virgin Islands. That is CICO. And the reason why I'm emphasizing that is because many of these sex trafficking, most of the sex trafficking that you see are the results of criminal enterprises. And so once the laws were found that were violated, and that's the next thing, we were able to file under that to stop the enterprise and approaches as the enterprise and hold them accountable. And about the law, because immediately we had to look at, well, what laws are being violated? Now, human trafficking has always for years been known that it was a federal matter, usually with federal laws, and they handle those things. But we had to look at all of the local laws as well. Now, of course, we have the sexual assault law, child exploitation laws and everything, and they were there. But what we saw was that we had a local Virgin Islands human trafficking statute, something that I had never seen before. But we know now, especially since we've Administrator Sanis was here, that it really was not enacted fully until about 2018. I wasn't even with the Virgin Islands Department of Justice because I was at a port authority. So that's why it was the first time. And I said, well, look here, we have a really tight, strong anti-human trafficking statute. And I just want to very briefly, just read you a bit about what it says. Can't possibly read the whole thing, but trafficking an individual, it says, a person commits the offense of trafficking an individual if the person knowingly recruits, transports, transfers, harbors, receives, provides, obtains, isolates, maintains, or entices an individual in furtherance of 1, forced labor, or sexual servitude. So those are the 2 types of human trafficking that is illegal: sexual servitude and forced labor. What is forced labor? The law says a person commits the offense of forced labor if the person knowingly uses coercion to compel an individual to provide labor or services, except when such conduct is permissible under federal law or the laws of the Virgin Islands. Then sexual servitude. A person commits the offense of sexual servitude if the person knowingly, 1, maintains or makes available a minor for the purpose of engaging the minor in commercial sexual activity, and 2, uses coercion or deception to compel an adult to engage in commercial sexual activity. So you see the difference there, though, because for an adult to establish the crime, coercion and deception has to be proven in order to get them to engage in the activity. When it comes to a child, it doesn't matter. It is just making the child available. There is a part of that also that is patronizing a minor for commercial sexual activity is a crime. So there's a specific statute that goes further with respect to children. A person commits the offense of patronizing a minor for commercial sexual activity if, 1, with the intent that an individual engaged in commercial sexual activity with a minor, the person gives, agrees to give, or offers to give anything of value to a minor or of another person so that the individual may engage in commercial sexual activity with a minor. And 2, the person gives, agrees to give, or offers to give anything of value to a minor or another person so that an individual may engage in commercial sexual activity with a minor. So those are the main things that is our local law, relatively new. And so that is, of course, is the laws that go in if we're prosecuting or anything, and we have investigations and everything, particularly the Virgin Islands Police Department, they would be the first responders. But what it does, though, is that we have a local sex trafficking statute. There is federal sex trafficking, or I should say human trafficking statutes. We have so many resources. The law is tight for the law enforcement and everyone to really move forward in what we need to do to combat it on the law enforcement end. And that, I think, is really, really good. Under the Human Trafficking Act also, as Senator Whitaker was bringing up, is that it also has certain prevention type things that are for us to do, that for the Department of Justice or Department of Labor and everything to do as prevention-wise, dealing with victims, dealing with prevention, and helping with reporting. And that includes the signage that the senator talked about at the various ports, signage that gives a possible victim or person who knows of anything to be able to have a number or something, a number to call in order to get help. And so we're working on doing that sort of thing. Signage also is required to be placed in certain types of businesses as well. And there are penalties for not having those types of signs there that can pretty much alert victims to where they can get help. And that is the important thing about it. I found also that there are a lot of misconceptions and with respect to human trafficking. And I'd say Lieutenant Cano went through an awful lot of them, which was great and everything. And I said, but generally speaking, there was a conception, and there had been also where people didn't think that that sort of thing happens here really. They say, yeah, that's the Epstein case or the Maxwell case, but that's just, people brought in, that's them, and that's on that little island. But no, it has been alive and well here for years, unfortunately. And I had the opportunity to speak with persons who, victim advocate organizations here in the Virgin Islands, specifically the Family Resource Center in St. Thomas, and the Women's Coalition in St. Croix. And both of those agencies have been providing services, helping victims of human trafficking for years. They have been doing so for years. They have been able to get them harbor, get them someplace to live, at least for a while, sometimes buying airline tickets. I mean, they have been providing those services. Another thing that I've seen is that it appears that people have the conception that human trafficking only happens to immigrants or people from elsewhere. Two things I need to say. First of all, it doesn't matter whether it's immigrants or not, they're people. But nevertheless, there was that concept that it's not about anything else but some sort of immigration or smuggling, but it is way more than that. It can happen to anyone. Although most of the victims they found have been women and girls, it can happen to anyone of any race, nationality. And right here in the Virgin Islands. Also, human trafficking does not always entail bringing in persons and trafficking them or bringing in from elsewhere. But even trafficking in situations where a person is trafficked from here, from one location to a hotel to provide commercial sex in the same island. It could be on the same island. Okay, so that also constitutes trafficking when you look at the definition under Virgin Islands law. So, and I hear from HSI and VIP and everything, especially HSI, have seen and I know I've read about the arrests that were made, the investigations and the arrests and the raids that were made a couple years ago, I think in 2019 and 2020, and I think those cases are still pending. But And I read them and I see them, I look at all, different things as far as the accounts. And I think about, what about the victims? I wonder then, well, we have strong prosecutors, investigators, great. And I always wonder, well, what happens to the victims? And I think that is like a great, of great importance, of course. And so I looked into them. I found out that the victims have been helped, as I indicated, by victim advocate services here in the Virgin Islands. And those two that I mentioned, the Family Resource Center and the Women's Coalition of St. Croix, provide them those kinds of services. My understanding is that, in fact, that people, that they would be oftentimes referred to, the victims would refer to them, or refer the law enforcement officers would refer the victims to those organizations so that they can get the help that they need. Those organizations as well have hotlines for not only the victims, who seldom ever call in anything, but they have hotlines for persons who suspect that people might be victims of human trafficking, or who suspect that something is going on, even they might not be sure. And that's where we come, excuse me? Oh, I'm sorry. That's where we get to the other topic that I just wanted to speak about, is our call to action. The importance of public awareness, and part of that is to empower us, individual members of the community, to be a part of prevention, to be a part of helping. And when I spoke with those organizations, they talk about how victims seldom ever, if any time, contact them for help. It's always someone else that calls. And sometimes they may not call 911, they may not call directly to the VIPD, but sometimes they even call the victim agency themselves, and they say, I think somebody's in trouble. And then they would then take on and do what is necessary and alert law enforcement and everything. So the help can come from various areas, but one thing for sure is that it oftentimes, and maybe even most times, would have to come from us, individual members of the community. I know we hear a lot of times, if you see something, say something. It's really that serious. If you see something, say something. And there are hotlines, there are numbers. I saw the hotlines that were put up by HSI and VIPD. We have the 911. We know who we can contact. Just make the call. And I think it's important for you to understand that it is your business. It is your business. It is, you are your brother's keeper or your sister's keeper. And I think we have to look at that, because they're not going to do it themselves. Who can do it if not us? And you don't have to get involved. In fact, don't get involved. I was speaking to Lieutenant Canal the other day, and she said, no, we do not advise you to do anything if you see something and you suspect something, except to call us. You call us and then we'll take care of it, but don't get involved. Don't try to approach people and find out what's going on. That's not safe. But definitely call to get the help. Make the call. I'll tell you too that under Virgin Islands law, you are protected if you reasonably suspect that something is going on or some kind of criminal activity is going on. You are protected. So you don't have to be fearful thinking, well, I think that person looks like they're in danger. I think something is going on, but suppose I'm wrong. I don't know for sure. I better not say anything. I might get in trouble or something like that. No. If you have a good faith suspicion that something like that is going on, that some kind of human trafficking is going on, somebody's being subject to that kind of abuse and that kind of danger, make the call. It's okay. And then whoever is answering, whether it's the victim services organization, the law enforcement, whatever, they'll get together and they will just start that machine going and look into it. And as the representative from HSI, I didn't get his name, but as he mentioned, even if it might look like nothing is happening, things are happening behind the scenes. You just don't know, because investigations are always confidential. And your report is always also confidential. So don't think that, oh, you're going to have to reveal your name. And no. So I just say, make the call. And that's the call to action. You are empowered to do that. I am hoping in moving forward with our public awareness campaign and efforts and everything, and collaborating with the local and federal authorities and everything with respect to combating human trafficking. I am hoping that throughout the year we would have constant education to not only law enforcement or the persons at the courts, but also people in the community, that we will have education in how to spot things and what the signs are, just like what we had today, but that this will continue on throughout the years, I should say, and through, with DVSAC and all the agencies here. And it really does take that coordinated effort to do that. So we're really ready and geared up to work with all of the agencies, and we're already started already. And my team at Department of Justice ready. And so I'm really looking forward to getting this, because it really depends on us, each member of the community. You can save a life. You can really save a life by making that call. And just one thing that's my pet peeve, I detest the term child prostitute. I've heard that. There are no child prostitutes. These are child victims. So just wanted to leave that with you. Thank you. I'll entertain any further questions. Thank you.
First of all, let me say thank you for that passionate delivery. It touched on just about every aspect, and especially on the law. Again, I commend Senator Sanis, or Administrator Sanis now, in ensuring that that law is on the books. So thank you.